What is going on, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome back to another live edition of The Kingdom Says. I am your host, as always, tonight, Garrett Williams. Tonight, I am joined by one of my usual co-hosts, Mr. Kyle Henning. How we doing tonight, Kyle?
Oh, doing all right. Doing all right. Been a week of entertainment and fun. No, that's not true. After the weather week, the week from last week, so everything is, catch up and behind and playing around and dealing with all that and just kind of going through things. But other than that, it's been a long wait
It has,
for
yeah.
some football that matters to us.
Been a long time.
And this
Christmas.
week feels like it's taken 35 years to get through because of that. But all that ends tomorrow afternoon, so we don't have to wait anymore. I'm excited.
Yeah, exactly. It should be very exciting. It's been a long anticipated wait for the Chiefs to play meaningful football once again. Yeah, like I said, it doesn't even it's this taking a long time to get here for sure, but also it feels like it hasn't even, I mean, this week almost flew by. It's like, oh, okay, boom, now it's playoff football time finally. It really almost sneaks up on you, and even though it doesn't. But it's good to finally see the real Chiefs come out to play, the Chiefs that we're all used to seeing on the football field, which is usually a pretty talented team. Usually the Chiefs kind of figure things out around this time of year in January, and all of their regular season woes tend to just kind of fade into nothingness, and all of a sudden they look like back-to-back Super Bowl champions going on their way to a three-peat. So really, really exciting episode for you guys tonight as we preview that the Texans coming into Arrowhead, the first game of the divisional weekend, which is always fun. Seems like whenever the Texans play, no matter what, they are the first game of the weekend. So the Chiefs are falling victim to that. I think a lot of people would have liked to see a night game. I think night game be a little colder out night. The Houston boys.
I would also be definitely off work by then, and not just hoping I'm off work by then.
Yeah, it would be a little bit more ideal just in general, but. It's probably going to still be a pretty brisk one out there in Kansas. I don't know what's the weather looking like out
there. Cold.
There.
It's going to be cold.
Yeah. It's really cold here too. It was like 65, 70 out here today, man. Chilly. That thing was chilly out there. Am I right?
Calm down, Captain Desert.
Yeah. So,
if you are new here, Garrett inhabits the desert, so the coldest it gets there is a balmy 70 degrees.
I don't know about that cold. Yeah, it's so funny whenever this past weekend where you guys were experiencing like winter storms and all that, it was still like a really chilly, windy, like 45 degrees outside, and a bunch of people from the Midwest and up north who were in the town for the season, and every time I'd be like, man, stay warm out there, they'd be like, this isn't nothing, and I'd be like, all right, bro, chill. All right, listen, I'm a desert guy. This is extremely cold for us right now. So
you're ridiculous. That's all I have to say.
Okay. Without further ado, let's get into some.
I have to pause you real quick.
Okay, perfect.
There are people in line to tailgate right now. Actually, an hour ago.
Dang.
They are at the gate already.
Yeah, that is crazy. If you ever have questioned the Chiefs Kingdom and their commitment to this franchise, that shows you right there. That is a testament. That is going to be a brutal. That is going to be a brutal way. I mean, let's see, 4:30. No, 3:30. The game's at 3:30, right?
Yeah, and it's funny. It only gets colder tomorrow from right now. Right now, it'll be the warmest it's going to be in Kansas City until after the game ends.
Dang.
And like 3 days after that, 4 days after that, it'll be Wednesday before it's the same temperature it is right now.
Okay, so I mean, hey, we're catching the Texans on a little bit of a cold front here, obviously.
The expected kickoff temperature, the actual temperature is going to be in like that 24 range. I believe the real feel that I saw projected is in the teens.
Yeah.
Because, the Midwest, there's not a lot of wind blockage. It's just cold when it gets windy. So
yeah, that does make sense. It's that's kind of the disadvantage of that whole area out there. But beautiful area though. I mean, beautiful area. But boy, is it cold out there. Boy, is it cold. And them Houston boys, I tell you what, it's not going to be the exact same effect as we had last year in the Chiefs' first playoff game, whereas Miami coming into Arrowhead And
No, it's not gonna be that cold.
-4 degrees, -20 degrees wind chill.
People's
Not that
arms aren't
cold.
gonna be freezing off their
Yeah,
bodies
it's not going
and
to be
stuff.
that much of a difference, but still, Houston more of a warm weather climate.
Oh, it's
Obviously,
not gonna be
Divisional is
fun.
the
They're not gonna
AFC
like it.
South, so and also they play in a dome, so uh, they're gonna be coming to a little bit of a disadvantage as opposed to the Chiefs who are tried and true in this kind of weather and know how to play, and so that's going to be a huge advantage just right out the gates. Just right out the gates, utilize that home field advantage, that bye week, that 1 seed that we got from the regular season, and that's the first step of winning the game right there. You get an early advantage with home field and the cold weather. So yeah,
Well,
if anyone's going to the game, be sure to bundle up. It's going to be ridiculously cold, in my opinion. I mean, I would need 7 layers probably if I were going to this game, but
grab
I
some
will
cardboard,
get out there.
take some cardboard with you, throw it on the
Yeah,
ground where your feet
exactly. Need some
are.
cardboard.
You be
Yeah.
good. You be good.
Yeah, I'm gonna get out there for a playoff game eventually, but just
Get you a couple libations. Get you.
libations.
Yeah, it's a term for drinks there, boss.
Oh, okay.
I
That's
know
good.
you're
That's
also
old. That's a
the age of
throwback.
9,
That's a
so
throwback term right there.
yeah.
Dang. You got from the 1960s or what?
No, I'm not quite that old there, boss, but I appreciate it. Thank you for that.
I'm just kidding.
So it's gonna be an interesting deal. Like I said, this Houston team, that you can't simulate cold weather. I don't care
No.
how cold you turn the practice facility, Baltimore. You can't. Did you hear about that?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I did hear
They
about
practiced
that. Yeah.
indoors all week because
Yeah.
the
That's a good
field
way
was
to
too
prepare.
frozen, and the strategy was to turn the building down as cold as possible. Like what?
So maybe just practice on the frozen field. That might. I mean,
It's gonna be
I don't know. I
pretty
don't
fun
know.
when you go to Buffalo, New York. Anyway, sorry.
It's gonna be frozen up there. Yeah.
Harrison and Co. kicked outside this week, in Arrowhead, I believe, to get some practice in there. One of the days, Mr. Tobe talked about that in the press.
Yeah. They do that a
So
lot during the playoff time. Yeah.
it's an advantage,
Yeah.
just like the weather, just like the fan base that's clearly going to be primed and ready to go, seeing as how there's people already at the stadium for a game that doesn't start for another like 16 hours.
Hours, yeah, long time. Yeah, long time. That's gonna be a long, long, slow grind out there. You better have portable heaters and propane and
Oh,
all that. Yeah.
some of the folks that do that have like a generator that powers the vehicle and have those camper tent things that go on the back of the truck to
Oh
where it's
yeah,
like
true. Yeah, those are pretty cool. Yeah.
those folks are what we call diehards and dedicated, and we salute you.
Yep. Yep. Hey, hold it down out there. Hold it down. Get them spots early. Yeah, it is gonna be a very interesting matchup. Obviously, a Houston Texans team that the Chiefs just faced, a couple game weeks ago, but really in reality is
Less than
almost
a month ago.
yeah, just a little under a month ago. So still very familiar, kind of still fresh in the mind of that game. Definitely still a lot of game plan stuff you can use from that, a lot of film you can take from that stuff. So familiarity on both sides. Obviously, these teams have played a couple times in recent memory. And yeah, so it should be a good matchup. Let's get into first initial impressions and kind of the biggest storylines of going into this game. I guess we can start with probably the most notable one, which was announced today. The Chiefs starting left tackle that has been announced to be Joe Tooney,
Per
and not
sources.
per sources. Yeah, apparently, which is very interesting that they release it even 24 hours before the game. But
Go ahead,
maybe
continue.
just slight little gamesmanship there. Who knows? But it is expected that Joe Tooney will retain and keep going at the left tackle spot. They tried out DJ Humphries there in Week 18 to get him back up to speed and see what they have with them. Ultimately, throughout these couple weeks of practice in between, the coaching staff came to a decision, and they're going to roll with Joe Tooney.
Maybe.
Potentially, yeah, you're right. You can never rule it out, really. If that would be epic if they did the old bait and switch on game day. That would be epic.
Well, so the only reason that I'm even entertaining that is, what is the sense in letting that leak out through? Because let's be very clear, absolutely zero information that the Chiefs do not want out gets out. Nothing.
Yeah, they are a pretty
Not a thing.
tight-lipped organization. in that
They
sense. Yeah.
choose who and when and what and how things go out.
Mhm.
They do not allow information out that they don't want to. So the reason that it brings me pause is because, as you mentioned, it's very strange that they let it out on a day that they don't have media.
Yeah.
There's no
Really,
press
they would just let
conferences
that
today.
thing, roll on game day, and you'd figure it out.
And why give the Texans even 24 hours to prepare for something? I know, well, they've already done their walkthroughs and they're already on the plane. Yeah, it doesn't
Yeah.
stop you
Yeah.
from using your brain and trying to contemplate different ways and things to do. So for me, if you're going to completely not say anything but say something but not say anything, the Andy Reid special, all week long, like he did with the left tackle, like he did with Jalen Watson, who we'll get to,
Mhm.
like he did with McCole and every other question he was asked this week. Because remember, kids, we are now in the playoffs, and that means they ain't telling you shh.
You ain't getting nothing.
So, and if he is telling you something, it's probably not the whole truth. There's some truth in it. There's a little bit,
A little
but
bit.
it probably isn't all of it. So I know Jeremy's a very well respected. I think he's the senior ESPN NFL guy now over there.
Yeah, he's pretty locked
Um,
in as a reporter.
but
So
it's just odd that it's coming out now.
yeah,
So
regardless, it seems I'd say at least 99% that's going to be
I
Joe
would I
Tooney at
would just
tackle
keep an
tomorrow.
eye on some wild beat reporter tweets tomorrow that are like, well, in strange news, somebody else is warming up at left and maybe Tooney is, and maybe the surprise is at guard. We'll
Yeah, I
see.
don't know. I wouldn't
I
make any
am
bets
gonna hold
on.
my breath because that's
Yeah,
the biggest problem I have, other than the fact that they've completely botched the entire left tackle situation all season, which I've talked about numerous times on this show. Um, my concern isn't Joe. It's never been Joe. Joe will survive at left tackle if he has to. That is not the problem.
sure will.
The
Yeah,
problem is you take your floor at left guard from all pro to semi pro. And I'm not trying to be mean, but
that's a tad harsh.
he's not Nick Allegretti either. And that's a problem. Like, I get you want your best option at left tackle. I get that. But if you're setting floors on positions, it's the floor conversation for me that becomes the problem. And we saw Mike struggle with this Texans team not even a month ago.
Hmm.
He gave up a couple of issues, including a free rusher that Mahomes got absolutely smoked on because he didn't get the communication correct on the blitz, and the guy ran right by him while he's trying to block Creed's guy. And it lowers your floor in the run game considerably when you move Joe to tackle, because Mike does not get the same push, the same sets, the same everything that you get when it's Creed, Trey, and Joe inside. So for me, it's far less about the left tackle position, which I know sounds insane after what we've dealt with at left tackle all year. But
Yeah,
the issue is where it puts your floor and how much pressure you are now putting on Mahomes before the game starts. Because essentially what this does for me on this position setup is you're tying one hand behind your back. You are going into the game
I don't know if
one-dimensional
we
for
go
a
that
pass rush.
crazy.
No, I'm
I would
telling you,
not
they're
take
not
it.
going to run the ball.
Yeah,
If they're going to run the ball, it's going to be the dink and dunk short passing game. They will not run the ball because they
I think they'll
cannot
run the
run the
ball a
ball
little
the
bit.
same.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
15
think
carries
they'll.
is not running the ball. I'm
Yeah, I
sorry, it's
think they'll
not.
still establish the run game.
Uh,
I've been a fan of this move. I've been an
it's
average advocate for this move being the right decision. The offense has hummed
they
a little
better
bit
be
better
right.
with Joe Tooney at left tackle out there. It seems like it's just a little more comfortability for Mahomes out there. And yeah, he hasn't been perfect out there at left tackle. He's not a true left tackle. Like that is, a very obvious thing for him. But he seems to have been performing really well. I've been saying that, give them more weeks of practice together and they become better. Yeah, remember that Caliendo's, stepping in there kind of cold after only a couple weeks of real playing time. And even,
Did
in
he
the
get
past
any
couple
in
of seasons,
Denver?
he's really not done a whole lot of playing time. So just kind of a thing that I think, it's going to be interesting to see how the Chiefs approach it. Obviously, they have with this change with moving Tooney out to tackle, they have been a little more pass happy. Obviously, even getting Hollywood Brown back and having Xavier Worthy and DeAndre Hopkins rolling, like I can understand why they want to focus more on the pass game and maybe roll a left tackle out there a little more comfortable with in the pass game, and kind of detract from the run game a little bit in that sense. It seems like it's always going to come and live and die with the pass game and how. Well, I should say that's how the Chiefs kind of view it. It seems is Andy Reid seems to a lot of times abandon the run game, just let Mahomes and company do their thing, for better or worse. It seems typically during the playoff times it ends up being for better, and they end up figuring it out. But just a different change of philosophy. And I know that you mentioned on Twitter how in the middle of the season while they were rolling with a couple of different guys at left tackle, and they had Kareem Hunt out there as their feature back, and they were winning games. I mean, they were winning games pretty handedly with that lineup of just running the ball a lot, having Kareem get like 20-25 carries a game, stuff like that, and the offense was okay. And now we've seen a shift in philosophy from earlier on in the season to now later in the season, where they have been productive. It's just been in different sets and in different kind of instances where the passing game is the primary focus, and it's kind of been either big boom or bust with their plays. You either get a really good drive going, or you got a quick 3 and out, and seems like they're back punting the ball again. So whatever game plan they seem to roll out with, I'm pretty confident in the coaching staff. Obviously, they haven't done a lot to show confidence, especially Andy Heck this year with the handling of the left tackle position, everything like that. But come playoff times, I have more confidence in them that they've done the due diligence, and they obviously know that Caliendo is a step down at left guard for him. So you have to kind of just game plan around it a little bit more, and nothing's an ideal situation. I think that's something that we've kind of figured out from a very early time in this season, is that you're just not going to have a magic fix to the left tackle situation. Even DJ Humphries, who came in after a year off of recovering from an ACL. And, first game back, he gets injured, goes down for a couple more weeks. Week 18, he did look good. Week 18, he did look good. But I feel like that's still more of a question mark than having Joe Tooney and Caliendo, who, lower ceiling, definitely. But also you a little bit kind of know them a little bit more, as opposed to DJ, who's only been in the building for about a month. And it's not insane to think, but it is kind of bold to rest your playoff hopes on a left tackle that's been there for about a month or so. So I don't know. It wasn't a win-win situation for the Chiefs. Obviously they had to make a decision one way or the other, and we're going to see how it rolls for him.
So real quick, he had some previous obligations for this evening. He may make it here shortly.
Yeah, we might see a little time appearance at
the
end.
Call him questionable. Yeah. We'll see how that works. But hopefully he can. If not, we also hope he had a good time and got all the stuff done he needed to take care of. And he'll be around, I'm sure, for the next one. So don't worry, he's still around. Okay, so I understand that as far as what your conversation is. Here's the problems. One, the Texans are a team that wants to make you throw the ball. They pass rushing from both interior and exterior, while the exterior gets a lot of love because of who they are,
right,
and their sack totals. The interior has been extremely successful, and they have some guys inside. They also run a lot of stunts in games.
Yeah, that is true.
What is the problem with this offensive line, even when it's the full group of good offensive linemen, especially along the interior?
Yeah,
they struggle with stunts in games.
Yep.
And the main reason that they struggle with that is because that is all communication based. And there's been some communication issues between a tackle and guard on one side, because the way one tackle sets, it's nearly impossible for the guard to do a lot of the stuff he does. And the other side, there were some issues with it because you didn't know what you were getting at left tackle. So they have trouble with stunts in games. That is what the Texans do a lot of. The other portion of this is the Chiefs' passing game over the last 3 weeks has predominantly been between 1 and 15 yards. Balls coming out in less than 2.5 seconds.
Very quick.
You can be unblocked and not get to the quarterback in 2.5 seconds. Okay?
True.
So that's all great. But if the idea is to turn this offense into what they thought they were going to do in training camp, which was a lot more downfield stuff with Hollywood and Xavier both on the field, and obviously Rasheed, and a lot more of those things, there's going to be problems. Because as great as Joe Tooney has acquitted himself at tackle, it's not been for 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4 seconds. Several times, if the ball would have still been in Mahomes' hand at 2.6 seconds, he'd have been on the ground.
Yeah, they have changed the rhythm up. Yeah, definitely a little bit quicker pace.
And you're also limiting yourself in the run game. So when you make yourself not only one-dimensional in a lot of ways, but one-dimensional in a target area, a defense can sit on that. They can push down and make you throw the ball deeper, make the routes take longer to develop, make a lot of these issues. I understand the coaching staff. Not doubting Andy Reid. It's not the scheme that I think is going to be the problem on Saturday if it's a problem. It will be the players because of the position they're put in. And a coaching staff that has traditionally been excellent at not putting their players in not so great positions has not been that good at it this year. They've done that a lot this year, and not just on the offense, on the defense as well.
Yeah, defense too, yeah.
So it's a little bit of a concern. And I will say it like this, they had better be right. Because if you left a healthy, according to Jeremy Fowler's tweet, league average left tackle on the bench and decreased your guard spot on that same side by a considerable margin, because a step is one thing. I think you're being a little nice. I may have been a little harsh with the all-pro, semi-pro thing.
Yeah, we can be in the middle somewhere, yeah.
But it's definitely a drop. So that's all great in theory. And if this matchup was against maybe a different team than this Texans team who wants you to have to throw the ball, who is now walking into this game with their ears pinned back, it's a little concerning on that side of it. Now, the flip side to that coin is, who's the defense run by the Texans?
Texans DC. I mean,
he's also their head coach.
I was about to say it's D'Amico, isn't it? Yeah, I don't know their actual DC, but I know it's D'Amico's.
Care about their actual DC's name. It's much like, who's the offensive coordinator for the Chiefs? Andy Reid.
Matt Burke is the actual DC, but yeah, it's D'Amico Ryans.
Who's like awesome.
Yeah.
Here's the deal. Andy has played D'Amico.
Couple times.
And I'm not talking about with Houston. Where did D'Amico come from?
I believe he came from the 49ers.
He did.
He came from the 49ers.
He beat him in the Super Bowl with a lot better talent than, no offense to Danielle Hunter or Will Anderson, but y'all aren't that Niners defensive line. You're just not the one from a few years ago that had 11 guys on it that were like, how in the world are they all on one team?
They still had Buckner on the team still, huh? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They had everybody and their mother on that defensive line.
Plus Fred Warner and them in the back, Richard Sherman.
So Andy is well-versed in D'Amico Ryans.
Yeah.
And the Texans, I feel like the Texans may have shot their hand a little bit in that first game, because I went back. Obviously, we've had some time. So I went back and watched that game last week. I was real bored one night. And after watching the divisional game from 19, when they came back from 24 down, because I was enjoying it, I went and watched that game. And they did some tendency breaker things in that game. The Texans did. And I don't know how brilliant that is to show your tendency breaker stuff to a team you might see again in a month. And turns out they are going to see again in a month.
Yeah.
You give Andy Reid stuff to watch on tape and you try to do that, and especially when 15 is also watching the same tape, it's tough. The other thing I'll say about the left tackle position, I have to imagine this was a Patrick heavily weighed in decision. I
I
have
would,
to
yeah,
imagine.
I would agree with that statement. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely the more, like when you talk about kind of shifting the offense, definitely a move catered more towards Mahomes than it is maybe the rest of the offense.
So,
Which I mean, not a bad idea because Mahomes was getting hit
sure,
a lot this year. Like we
my
got to be honest, like he
yes,
took a beating.
100%.
Yeah,
My concern is the quarterback is already pass happy, and the head coach slash offensive coordinator, play caller, is already pass happy.
yeah,
And we have
yeah.
seen them. What was the game that we had the most frustration with down the stretch? It
I mean,
was the
probably the
game where they didn't
Bills.
run the ball for like 2 freaking quarters
Well,
at
yeah,
all.
that one was pretty bad too. Yeah, what game was that? That was a
Cleveland,
bad
I
one.
want to say.
Yeah, that was a bad one. Yeah.
So sometimes you need to be protected from yourself in certain scenarios.
Yeah. That was also,
And
I don't think we had Tooney at left tackle then yet.
I, they didn't run the ball for like 2 full quarters.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's not like they're gonna run it more. You're right. You're right. Yeah.
Being one dimensional in the playoffs is a very dangerous game to play. So if they get real creative with how they run the ball, stuff we haven't seen a lot this year, end arounds, jet sweeps, tight end slash 2 back sets in the backfield, things
Yeah.
of that nature, fine. But if you're going to do what you've done most of the year as far as the run game is concerned, the personnel for that is concerning. So
Yeah.
we'll
Also, we have
see
to,
how it looks.
yeah, well, we have to remember too, like, I think we always kind of forget a little bit, and not you, but I'm saying we as Chiefs fans kind of forget that, we do have like one of the best passing, well, maybe not this year, but like we have the framework for one of the best passing offenses of all time. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Andy Reid, like we
Yep.
got to, some of that is like, hey, we might be the one dimensional. Stop us,
And
do it.
that's fine.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
just want
when
to know
you're
what
the
the
best.
answer is if they do stop us
Yeah,
a
see,
few
that's the thing.
times.
I don't know if they are. That's the thing.
Because
When you're the best,
the
people,
other thought,
you got to worry about people, you know,
and
in a
this is the
different
other
light.
thought about the decision, you could have always started with Tooney at guard and Humphreys at tackle, and if it was a problem, gone back
Yeah.
right to Tooney at left tackle again. Because he didn't
I mean, I
forget.
guess. Yeah.
You didn't forget how. And
No, yeah.
if
And
you've been
Caliendo would
doing
be,
what you
yeah.
said all week and rotating them at tackle,
Yeah.
again, this goes back to, are they telling the truth in the press conference? But if you've been rotating them at tackle, then there should be no issue to use Tooney as the break glass in case of emergency and move him back to the tackle spot with Caliendo at guard. If you've been rotating them, like
Yeah,
you
and
say.
that's what I don't know. I don't know how much I buy that they even were rotating. Because
I they
the thing about rotating tackles, it's not like it's normal tackles where you're just rotating two different guys. But like if you're rotating Joe Tooney, that means you're rotating him from left tackle to left guard. So I don't know. I feel like that
Yep.
just kind of throw up his mojo. If you have plans for the guy to be starting at a position, you don't want him to be practicing half his week at a
And now
different
you're
position.
at where
Yeah.
the logic of all of this doesn't make a ton of sense to me based on what you said in the press conference, what you've done all week, what
Yeah.
you've
Can't
claimed
believe.
you've done all
Yeah.
week, leaking it ahead of time. Like, none of those things add up to make this the decision, which is largely why I didn't think this would be the decision.
Yeah,
It
unless they just came to this decision before any of this, and then they were just playing a lot of gamesmanship all the way up to this
and
point.
that's fine, but like I said, based on everything we know to this point, this doesn't make tons of sense.
Yeah, but also
And that's the
we gotta
deal.
remember, Kyle. We don't know anything really at this point.
Well,
Yeah,
and that's, like I said,
because
that
we
goes
just
back
said,
to what
yeah,
they're saying, what they're doing, what's
everything Andy
actually
says this
happening.
time of year cannot really believe him.
So
That is a thing.
I expect them to have a plan because he's had forever to come up with one. That's the other
Yeah,
reason I think this decision was made a while ago, and a lot of the stuff we've heard this week
yeah,
wasn't
game
anything
plan for it
actually
ahead of
accurate.
time, probably. Yeah,
Um, Andy Reid off a bye, we know those numbers. Andy Reid with extra
Billion.
time, if you don't want to use the word buy. We know those numbers.
Yeah.
They're as healthy as they've been, which you're getting ready to get to, I'm sure, with the injury report. But it's just there's a lot of stuff that's taken place this week and all season, frankly, with that side of the offensive line that has not made sense. And the reason I'm apprehensive is because all the stuff they did earlier this year, up until like a month ago, that didn't make any sense, didn't work. And that's where I
Yeah.
say you better have it right. Because if
I would
you
agree.
lose
Yeah.
a three-peat over being this nonsense and you leave a left tackle that's at least league average if he's healthy on the bench that you're paying multiple $1 million to that you signed halfway through the season, that's not good, Teddy. That's not good.
Yeah, mate. Did he make a multiple millions of dollars? I guess with
Mm-hmm.
that prorated, they gave him a good little prorated
Like three
check
and a
of
half million dollars that
a
he's
couple
getting,
million.
and he's
Yeah.
played 3 quarters. So you
Yeah.
better be right.
Well, he played 7.
I'm not. That is a preseason game in week 18. Are we joking?
Well, then you can't. Well, then you can't use
He
that as
played
an argument
35
that he looked.
snaps.
Well, then you can't use an argument that it looked good. That he looked good in that Week 18 game. If it's just a preseason
He
game.
was the only guy on the field that was out there to be out there to see anything. That's the other part that doesn't make a ton of
Right.
sense.
Yeah.
Why
That's what I'm
was he
saying. You've
out
had.
there if you didn't think he was going to be able to do anything?
Well, you're just trying to see
So,
how healthy he is. If you only have
like I
seven
said,
seven and
my
a half quarters on
apprehension
the
is
guy.
because of all of the stuff we have watched go on with that position specifically this year have issues when it came down to the decision making. And again, I know Andy has final say, but the other Andy has a lot of input on that.
Yeah.
And he's had some issues. As well respected as he is, he's had some issues this year. So,
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see how that goes for the Chiefs.
I want to be wrong, and it's not a Joe Tooney concern that's my concern. It's the other stuff around Joe Tooney that is my concern.
Yeah, I have a confident feeling. I have a decently confident feeling that they'll be okay. I would say this: as much as the offensive line has been a problem this year, I almost don't think that's the number one thing I'd be worried about. But I don't know what the number one thing would be. So we'll figure that out as we go out through the rest of this episode. All right. Before we get to that though, let's check on the injury report. Because Kyle alluded to it's looking really good for the Chiefs. This is a really nice injury report.
As best news as you can get.
Yeah, pretty much the greatest news that the Chiefs can receive. We didn't expect it. I guess a couple of weeks ago we expected it, but early on when this guy went down in the season, didn't expect him to make a return, and certainly not for the divisional round of the playoffs. So really big news of the Chiefs activating Jalen Watson off of the IR. He was a full participant in practice this week, and he is, by all counts, good to go, which is absolutely humongous for this defense. I mean, probably one of the bigger, that's honestly what the bigger problem for me has been the defense in the secondaries this year. Getting Jalen Watson back, who looked really good as a corner number 2 opposite Trent early on in the season. Getting him back in the defense now, getting another running mate with Trent, and having guys be able to play their true positions again because you have another actual outside corner. Boy, is that a good time. That is real exciting stuff.
Kind of like the things I would like for the offensive line to, never mind. Yeah, man. All the reporting, well, first of all, just off the injury alone, because not only did he break his fibula at the ankle, I believe he also basically had to have tightrope surgery because it was a high ankle sprain to go with it. So he had a kind of a 2-for-1 there.
Yeah.
And there was
like
a
pretty
lot of reporting and even from the Chiefs that was like, I don't think he's going to get back this year. So it's a massive shout out to him for the work he put in to get back, to be healthy, because that ain't easy.
Yeah.
It's
also
not easy.
Training staff. Yeah.
Physically, yeah, that F- training staff, that training staff, yeah.
Just miraculously gets a
just
guy
like
back
to
from
remind
crazy
everybody
injury
that player survey is an absolute farce. But anyway, so the physical side of it is one thing. with the broken bones and the ligament and the surgery and all that, but the mental aspect of it, which he seemed to be in good spirits and happy and positive the whole way, which I think plays a large role in how well he recovered.
Yeah.
Because you have to, if you've never had a major injury, and I'm not talking about, oh, I broke my thumb or
I twisted my ankle.
I twisted my ankle. I'm talking about a legit major injury.
Yeah, where you're going through months of rehab all by
It
yourself.
sucks.
Yeah.
Sucks. And yeah, to do it alone, and he wasn't completely alone, obviously.
Right. Yeah.
Obviously,
It's
we've
like
had
it's a
plenty of
battle that
injuries
you
this
have
year,
to
so there's been
overcome.
plenty of company in that training room.
Yeah.
But
Oh yeah.
it's a lot to do, and for him to get back and to here's the other part of it, because I don't think they were anticipating him being back. I don't think they would have let him be back if he wasn't 90+% healthy.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know the exact timeline that they thought, but I feel like this had to have
Well,
accelerated
it's like a
beyond their
12,
timeline.
it's like 8 to 12 weeks, and
Yeah.
I don't know that it hasn't been anywhere close to 12 weeks.
Yeah. Definitely. I don't think. I mean, yeah. You have to look back
And
and see
it'd
what
be
week he actually went
borderline
down.
close to 8, I would think. Now, again, the 24 days of
A lot of rest in between. Yeah, it has
23
helped.
days of break
Yeah.
between the last game that they played and now helps. But
Yeah. His
he's a
last game was
huge.
October 20th is when he went down. So
It's like
October,
8 weeks,
November. So
basically.
it's about 3 months. So
It would have been about 8. It would have been about 8 weeks by the time when he started practicing again.
right by
Because
the time he
remember,
started
they
practicing.
opened his
So
window like 2 weeks ago.
yeah, but I say yeah, they opened it like right after the week
Steelers
18
game.
game. Yeah.
No, it was the Steelers game, wasn't it?
Oh, I was like before. Yeah, actually, it might have been before. Yeah,
I think it
you're
was
right.
right.
He might have that opened
I
before
think
that
him
week
and
of
McColl's
practice.
window opened at the same time, and I think it was that Steelers game.
Yeah. So I mean, definitely
That's a
ahead of
big
schedule
deal.
from where he probably should have been, which is huge.
Right. Especially to be back in football, like doing football work,
Mm-hmm.
because it's like 8 to 12 weeks to like walk around like you and me, not 8 to 12 weeks to be on a football field,
Playing high level
cutting,
football,
running, back pedal, left, right, all, like that's a
And according
lot.
to some Instagram videos and posted and whatnot, he seems to be looking pretty good.
He's
I
been
mean, I
doing
guess
that,
we can't
so
fully expect him to be 100% obviously coming off of that, but
I'll be interested to see if there's a pitch count or if he's
yeah,
used in specific situations. But he makes a difference simply by lengthening the depth chart, simply by
exactly.
making Josh or Nazi or CRW or Keith Taylor cover wide receiver 3 or 4 and not wide receiver 2 or 3. When
Mm-hmm.
it's much like baseball, when you add a bat in the middle of your lineup, all of a sudden the bottom of the lineup gets better. It's because everybody slides down a peg. Everybody's moved down a rung. You don't have to have it's a much different job description all of a sudden, and some of those skill sets fit better in limited sample sizes.
Yeah.
Part of the reason that we've had some issues with some of the DBs is overexposure, shall we call it. Too much time in the sun. And I'm not talking about getting a suntan. So it's huge, man. With him, with Ominahue finally, I would assume being full form, full ready to go, full everything.
He's gonna be juiced up for this game.
We'll
We know his thoughts.
get to revenge games and reasonings and stuff here in a little bit when we do that portion towards the end. But yeah, Jalen Watson makes a massive difference because all of a sudden you have, again, basically the same DB room you had at large stretches of last year, minus L'Jarius Sneed. And they used Trent and Josh and Jalen a ton last year, all on the field at the same time.
Yeah, and that's Jalen is also a guy who, the injury and him being back 100% healthy, he might be like a half a step slower, but the big advantage of what Jalen adds to this defense and why he's been such a benefit to this defense is that he's an outside corner, a true outside corner, and he's played a lot of outside corner in his career, all through college and now the NFL. So it's not like we have to worry about him being out of position or anything like that. I mean, the worst thing that can happen is that he physically is a little bit limited, but mentally and technique wise is why he is.
Well,
I mean, that's why the Chiefs felt so comfortable making him their cornerback 2 this season, and why the defense looked drastically different with him out there.
Well, he took the job. Remember, in training camp, they didn't know.
Yeah, it was a big question mark.
Steve actually said in training camp, we don't know who cornerback 2 is, but somebody needs to step up and take the job, and he did. And it was huge, and he played insanely well. The other thing that he provides, I love Trent to death. Trent should have been an All-Pro. Trent should have been in the Pro Bowl, and I'm not talking about second-team All-Pro. Trent should have been a first-team All-Pro. He's not the same size profile. Jalen is 6'2". He's 200 and something pounds. He's a bigger guy. He can play. Yeah. He can take and deal with some of your bigger wide receivers if he needs to. Nico Collins.
Yeah, that's gonna be a big one.
You may not see Trent travel if they're both on the field for most of this game.
Yeah,
Trent
exactly.
pretty much traveled with Nico last time.
Right.
So shout out Gilbert. We love that. Love you. Love that you're checking in from Cali. Good to see you here this evening.
Nice.
Garrett's familiar with California. He spent quite a bit of time there at one point in his life. So
yeah, Southern California going through a tough time right now. Definitely a tough time down in Southern California.
Thinking of all of you guys that are out there, any of you guys that are watching that are out there and that, and we hope everything.
Wildfires are no joke, man. That's one of the drawbacks of living
terrible
in
thing
we had to deal with very frequently. It's just fires and smoke. Yeah, this is a pretty bad one going on right now too.
But like I said, that Jalen Watson news is gigantic because
huge.
I know several beat reporters that did not expect to see him in uniform the rest of the season.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a really big comeback. As far as the rest of the injury report, looking pretty good. The only other person out is McCole Hardman, who he was coming off of the IR as well from that same window. They'll probably give him another week to fully get back to where he needs to be. He underwent surgery, so whatever.
Yep.
I don't know what surgery it was. I mean, he listed as a knee injury, so he had to do some type of surgery, cleanup or something.
I assume it's a meniscus type cleanup or some cartilage.
So I mean, something. little bit more time for McCole, but everybody else, full participant who was on the injury report, full participant in practices. Patrick Mahomes with his ankle injury is all good. Chris Jones is with his calf injury.
The other big one.
Yeah, that's another big one that he's back for. Isaiah Pacheco with his rib injury, another guy who missed, some time.
I'm not as concerned about the rib. I was more worried about him getting some rest because to be honest, I think he probably rushed himself back a little.
Yeah.
From the broken ankle he had.
Yeah.
Because Jalen wasn't our only broken ankle of the season. So that extra couple of weeks for Pop to be able to do some work, rehab more, work more, get back into that football feel more. I think that's a huge deal for them. Like I said, I would like for it to maybe be a little bit better structurally up front for him and for Kareem to have some success, but we'll see. Because I think you had I think it was Good Morning Football, but you had the crazy stat that you shared with us.
Peter Schrager shared a really crazy stat that there have been running backs with the most consecutive playoff games with 75 plus scrimmage yards in NFL history. Franco Harris, number 1 with 9, Terrell Davis, number 2 with 8, Emmitt Smith also tied at 8, and then Isaiah Pacheco, 7 consecutive games with 75 plus scrimmage yards in the playoffs, which
that's 3 Hall of Fame running backs.
3 Hall of Fame running backs in front of him, which is pretty crazy numbers.
For a younger crowd, look up Franco Harris. He's older, and he was a beast when he played.
So that's
75 yards per scrimmage. He's also, if I am not mistaken, 7-0 in his playoff games that he has played in.
Yeah, I mean he's never lost a playoff game. Never. Also never lost a Super Bowl. So I mean it's pretty good life for those 2022 draft class members. They've never lost a playoff game or Super Bowl.
Yeah, we'd like to keep that rolling.
Sorry about it.
So,
rest of the injury report though, looking pretty good. Another one, Jawan Taylor. He's full participant with his knee injury. He obviously missed a little bit of time as well. That was something to keep an eye on. And Chamari Connor, also another good name to see full
That's another
participant
guy
after
that
missing some time with concussions, and he had a shoulder injury.
he needed some days.
Yeah. So with that, that's looking pretty good for the Chiefs. The Texans side, a lot more questionables, but of course, per usual Chiefs fashion, all the people who are questionable are probably going to end up going. So we got Aziz Al-Shaair, who was limited and didn't participate in some of the days of practice. He was listed as questionable. He's, from what I saw, was reported to be good. Joe Mixon as well was listed as questionable. He came up late on the
He
injury
heard
report.
that in practice.
Yeah, he heard it on Wednesday limited, and then Thursday he was DNP. So he was questionable. He, per sources, is also going to be good, although might be not the true Joe Mixon that we're all used to seeing, but he'll at least
Probably
be
not
good enough to get
100%.
out there. Yeah, exactly. And then Robert Woods was questionable. I don't know if he'll go or not. And Tegan Quitor, a backup tight end. Don't got to worry about him, really. Everybody else on their injury report was good to go. Will Anderson was on there. Dalton Schultz. A couple of their offensive linemen were on there, but they all seem to be good. The biggest ones were Aziz Al-Shaair and Joe Mixon, who are both really good big pieces of their respective sides of the ball. So
remember, Aziz did not play in the week whatever game that was because he was suspended for trying to decapitate Trevor Lawrence.
Yes, that is why Aziz missed the first matchup. And he almost missed the second one with an injury, but he'll be good. He'll be good to go. So it'll be a little bit of a reinforcement the Texans have this time around on the defensive side. Because, I mean, we can talk about how he is as a player, but he is a pretty big piece of their defense for sure.
He's their green dot, isn't he?
I believe so. Yeah, I believe he is their mic. He is their signal caller.
So the concern for the Texans, there's got to be some concern around Mixon because one of their practice squad elevations was J.J. Taylor.
Is it running back?
Yes, he is.
Okay. Good guess.
And then the other one is Andrew Beck, who is a tight end fullback, and they only have two functional tight ends on the roster. One of them being old friend alert, Irv Smith.
Irv Smith, yeah.
And the other is, of course, Dalton Schultz. So there's some questions for them at those two positions with those injuries being on the injury report. That Joe Mixon injury, that would be very, very bad for them.
Yeah, he had a really good game last week in the playoffs versus the Chargers. So
starting around the second half, he definitely picked it up. That first half, he didn't do squat. Granted, neither team did anything in the first half.
Yeah. But Joe Mixon, I mean, still a really good premier back in the NFL as long as he's been doing it, and obviously very familiar with playing the Chiefs team, doing it many times with the Bengals and now with the Texans. But yeah, very big part of their offense. And like I said, with the offense that's already kind of missing some pieces and whatnot, obviously they're going to be missing Tank Dell from the last matchup that we had, a couple other injuries and whatnot. Their wide receiver core isn't as strong as it was. And then, having Joe Mixon show up with a ankle injury midweek, that's not ideal. That's definitely not ideal.
That's not great.
Definitely a little bit of worry there, especially with the way our run defense goes. Having Chris Jones back there, Mike Pennell, Leo Chenal back in there, it's not the best matchup, especially when the Texans. I mean, so let's kind of recap how the Texans kind of performed in their last performance versus the Chiefs, because I know they had it was a close-ish game up to near the end where things kind of got carried away for them, but. It's not like they were unproductive in their first matchup,
They never really felt like that was one of those games that when we were done, it was like it never really felt close.
Yeah.
But it was on the scoreboard.
Yeah, which is usually a fault of the Chiefs, not really the fault of the other
they
team.
Were up 10-7 in the second quarter, and then we immediately answered with the Kareem Hunt touchdown, then added a field goal right before half because they blundered a bit before half.
Yeah.
And then they got the Tank Dell touchdown, and then Tank Dell, unfortunately, severe injury, and then they got the extra point blocked.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that Tank Dell injury did kind of derail the rest of their did derail the rest of their day. It's almost hard to kind of
Yeah.
take anything after that because it seemed like, I mean, CJ Stroud was like in tears on the sideline. Like,
Yeah,
that's
and
kind
it
of stuff that
sucks.
is tough. Yeah, that's tough to just go and play a football game, especially when it's a normal regular season game. Like,
if you're not familiar, Tank Dell, I feel bad for that dude. He's gonna be recovering from that basically all of next year too, because he tore like everything in his knee. He's gonna have, I would assume, multiple surgeries because they can only fix so much of that at one time.
Right.
Like they have to fix part of it, and then some of it has to heal, and then they can fix the rest of it. So like, that
so
sucks.
he might not even get like actual ACL surgery for another like 4 to 6 months just because he has to have other things to clean up around it. Yeah, it's not
good.
Yeah, and he was their main contributor on offense the last time we played.
Yeah, and so and that's largely because Trent was on Nico, and Nico had like one catch against him it was probably what you most would call a 50-50 ball that he ended up with. Like, it's fine. You're going to win some of those occasionally.
Yeah, I mean, good receiver, but,
Mixon only had 57 yards on the ground with 14 carries. Stroud threw 2 picks.
Yeah, the picks were a big thing. CJ definitely, that was the big thing I remember from that matchup was the fact that CJ was not as dialed as he was, especially last year. It seems like he hasn't had quite the year that he had last year as far as discipline and turnovers and stuff like that.
I believe they're also down some offensive linemen because I think Kenyon Green is now back on their starting O-line when he was not. I think the guys I think it's probably an IR thing. I think they've had to shuffle a little bit. But one of the things that they struggled with, and they've struggled with all year, is zone pressure.
Yeah.
So when he gets blitzed and that other team drops into zone, he's like 34th in the league in his completion percentages and a couple of other things against zone pressure looks, especially disguised zone pressures. And what do we know about Spags? He's been chomping. He's going to be. I'm surprised Spags has any hair left on his head and he hasn't pulled it out yet because he hasn't been able to blitz for like a month.
That is true. Yeah,
and
licking his lips, or waiting for this.
So there are some matchups in this that don't bode well stylistically for this Texans offense, and I'll be real honest. That Chargers game, their offense wasn't great.
No, yeah, I mean,
they scored 20 points on offense in that game.
Yeah, 20 points, and Justin Herbert threw 4 interceptions. So it's
correct.
I mean, obviously one of them was a pick 6, right? So that's some of it. Yeah. So I mean, you have 3 turnovers and even with that, you still only scored 20 points. Yeah.
I mean, they returned a blocked extra point for 2 points. They got another field goal, and they had a touchdown, all from the defense.
Yeah. So I mean,
because I think the field goal drive that they got off one of those turnovers, they moved the ball like 4 yards and kicked a field goal. Like, it was not.
Yeah, not the most reproducible success, It's definitely something that kind of, not
I'll put it this way. I'd be rather surprised if Patrick gave them the ball 4 times.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
He hasn't thrown a pick in the divisional round ever.
I would agree with that. Yeah, it's that does check out.
So, if we want to get into the matchup side of this, because we're only like almost an hour in now. Shout out to you guys hanging out with us. If you are here, like, share, subscribe, tell your friends. We appreciate it. It helps us out. It helps get us out there to everybody. And also, we've got plenty of stuff that we give to you guys too, whether that's picks, analysis, some giveaways, which we will announce the winner of another giveaway tonight, and then everybody will get their prints. Weather kind of derailed some of the shipping of the giveaways because I couldn't get to the shipment drop-off point.
Yeah, a little bit of icy roads. Icy roads.
That all said, this Texans offense is going to have a long uphill struggle if Joe Mixon is not Joe Mixon.
Yeah, especially with the state of our defensive line being able to generate some pretty solid pressure now that we have, the combo of Chris Jones and Charles Omenihu, which that's what we should get into is the defensive line. And Mostly Charles Omenihu. Yeah, that revenge game that he went on. What podcast was that he went on? Some kind
I would
of,
have to look up the name
yeah,
of it. I do not remember the name of it. I believe it's a couple of other former NFL guys, I
right, yeah.
believe. Um,
Yeah,
but
he basically went on there
he,
and
in
lit
no
up that
uncertain
organization.
terms,
Yeah,
lit that organization up. He had things to say about them when he was in San Francisco.
yeah.
After that whole deal, before he ever even got to Kansas City,
Hmm.
I have to imagine he saw that they were getting Houston last Saturday or Sunday at noon or 3 o'clock or whatever it was by the time that Bills Broncos game was over by like 1:30.
Yeah, it was already over.
Um, and look, man, he made it very clear he is a very large non-fan of the entire organization. And some of those faces have changed. Obviously, Bill O'Brien's not there or whatnot,
Yeah,
but the GM, I
same
believe, was
owner, same
there.
GM, I
The
guess.
owner is absolutely still there. There's some real dislike for them, and he's got every motivation on the planet, especially with how his season unfortunately ended last year.
Right. Yeah, he's got some fuel. He's got some
He's
fuel in the
going
tank.
to be, they're going to probably have to calm him down a little in this game. I
Yeah,
would
he's a
not
big.
be surprised if you see him get a little too amped at early in this game.
Yeah, he's a
So
big playoff performer too, which is really beneficial. He's kind of like Frank Clark in that aspect, where playoffs coming around, he really turns it on.
I'm
That's
glad
like
you said that because
that's
he
the next
reminds
year.
me a lot of Frank with the
Yeah.
mentality, with the way he approaches it in the
Hmm.
playoffs.
Hmm.
He's going to want to be a massive problem. And as I mentioned, they have struggled on that offensive line. They're paying Laramie Tunsil a ton of money, and Laramie Tunsil has not had a good time this year.
Yeah, he's fallen off a
Um,
little bit. Yeah.
their interior offensive line has problems.
Yeah, a lot of shuffling around.
And
Yeah.
Chris Jones and Charles Omenihu lining up in the A and B gaps. Good luck.
Good luck.
Um,
Yeah.
this this defense, and even more so now with Jalen Watson on the back end. They
Yeah.
also don't forget Justin Reed. They
Yep.
didn't want to pay Justin Reed,
Yeah.
and that's
No,
why
they
Justin
didn't.
Reed is in Kansas City. Uh, there's some guys, especially those two gentlemen, with some less than stellar feelings on that Texans organization, and they're going to be wanting to make an impact. And those are two vets with lots and lots of playoff experience.
Yep.
I look for big games for both of those gentlemen tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, yeah, and the whole ever since Charles Omenihu's came back, the complimentary pass rush, it's
So
been great.
different.
Yeah, it's been so good, and even other guys have been benefiting. Mike Dana, George Karlaftis, like
It's
just
the
the
same thing we
rotation
talked
that they
about
have.
in the
Yeah,
secondary with adding Jalen Watson back.
right.
You
Yeah,
add Charles Omenihu, and all of a sudden George is pass rusher 3, not pass rusher 2, or Mike Dana's pass rusher 3 and not pass rusher 2, whichever one of them you wanted to
right.
have.
Yeah.
Like it slides everybody down one, and now they're getting one-on-ones with guys that maybe can't
Hmm.
handle them because of it, because now they can't cheat to them after throwing 5 bodies at Chris Jones. And the stat for me, ESPN I think had it, Chris Jones has been double teamed more than the next closest person since 2017, 119 times
Yeah,
more.
I
And
did
the
see that
second
stat.
person on that list was Aaron freaking Donald. Granted, Aaron hasn't played in a year or two,
Yeah,
something like that.
still
But
crazy.
that's 119 more double teams.
Yeah, that's a lot. I mean,
And
that's
he's
that's a
tied for
lot.
the most pressures from that time period for interior defensive linemen, I
Hmm.
believe, too. Like, it's insane what they throw at Chris and what he does. It's part of the reason that if his eyes could have rolled out of his head in the presser that he did this week when he was asked about sack totals, they
Yeah.
would have.
Hmm.
especially with the playoff sack total conversation that he had to endure for like 3 seasons or whatever it was after a while. Finally got rid
Yeah,
of
that
that
was big monkey
psychosis
off his
last
back.
year. Or was it 2 years ago now? All the years are running together. It feels
They
like
were,
we've been
yeah,
in
one
one
of the Super
season.
Bowl years. Yeah.
But they are set up on the defensive line, especially against this Texans O-line, to be a legitimate problem for this offense for the Texans.
Yeah, and that's one
That
of the biggest keys is them disrupting CJ Stroud and getting.
it's a mismatch. Just
Yeah.
flat out blankly, I'm not. If Texans fans, if you're in here for some reason watching
Hey,
this, I'm not
maybe.
hating, but that's not a plus in your category for this matchup. As a matter of fact, it might be the biggest negative gap
Yeah,
for you guys in this matchup.
that's gonna be a problem. Not being able to contain the pocket and just there's a lot of problems you have when your O line does not fare well versus the D line.
Especially because I'm curious to know what you think. I think you're going to get some Leo Chenal playing different roles than we've seen him all year. We saw it a little bit. They did a
Yeah,
little bit of it at the beginning of the year. He played on the D line. They moved him
yeah.
down. They were doing
Well, I
some
think that's
different
his.
things,
Yeah, I think it's honestly his best position is being on the line of scrimmage. In whatever
or at
capacity.
least
Like,
up close to it.
yeah, I mean, as close as you can get. I mean, either with hand in
He,
the dirt or not. Like,
yeah, I don't. I
him
said I don't
being
necessarily need him to
closer.
be hand in the dirt, but
Yeah, exactly. Him being closer to the line of scrimmage, especially in the run game, like it's crazy that he's like 250 and you cannot move him. Like you really can't. He moves you. You do not move him. Like and the less time he has to close that gap. If you're starting him on the line of scrimmage, he's not moving any further back than that. He's just
he's
going forward. So
he is
it's
one of the strongest pound for pound humans I've seen in quite
ever.
some time.
Yeah. He's like country strong times infinity. Like he's just crazy. And that's a big mismatch that you just can't really you can't prepare for that. You game plan for him. And it's like, oh, okay, you got Leo Chanel, the Sam linebacker or whatever they want to call him, and then there's so much more to his game that you just cannot. It's just it's a person to person thing where it's like, yeah, you can game plan all you want for him. You can send your guard or tackle whoever at him. It ain't gonna really matter most of the time. Like he's gonna get the movement, and
Well,
that's
and
gonna
he's
be a
faster
huge
than them, and he understands angles and leverage. And if you
leverage.
understand angles and leverage and you're that strong,
Yeah. That's I
it's
mean that's the
tough.
way. Yeah, exactly. So that's like Leo Chanel every day is like one of the biggest factors for this defense and how they stop the run. And obviously that just combats I mean, pass coverage, he's okay. You're not dropping into coverage super often, but that's where he can really affect the game is being close to the line of scrimmage, really getting into the backfield, really getting around those big guys to kind of just fill holes, move guys, I mean, it's just everything. He's the Swiss Army knife that you almost never would expect him to be this type of role, and yet he just keeps on going. He keeps
I
on
remember when they
excelling in
took him, some
different
people
things.
were concerned he was another Ben Neiman, and I'm like, no, no,
Yeah,
no, 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 no.
yeah.
He's
The development of him has just been
even if you
phenomenal.
simply looked at the athletic profile, he's not that. Like he's
Yeah,
a
he's
freak
a
of
crazy one.
nature.
Yeah, so
Um,
that's a big matchup right there. Having Leo in that defense wherever you want to put him, it's a benefit.
I'm curious to see what they do. I'm also very curious to see. I talked about the zone pressures. I don't, will not. If you remember how that game ended for the Texans on offense, it ended with a Josh Williams sack off the corner,
Mm. Yep,
chasing C.J. Stroud down and taking him down to finish the Texans' last drive with the football before the Chiefs got it back and never let them touch it again.
never let him
Um,
again.
Kareem did the slide down, and when he probably could have scored and put him up 2 touchdowns, he was like, "Yeah, just kidding." So they Spags' pressure package is going to be quite interesting because,
Oh yeah,
as I mentioned earlier, Stroud has struggled massively with diagnosing blitz pressures this year, especially
yeah,
in zone. He's had trouble. He's not been great at it in man either, but he's had way more issues with zones. And with this group of receivers being Nico Collins and I guess John Mechie,
Mechie, yeah, Xavier Hutchinson is there, not really a factor.
there's nobody
Deontay
else
Johnson is no
besides
longer there.
Nico that, yeah, he's a Ravens next year,
Yeah,
not
Ravens
really.
future. somehow
Well,
it counts for a
mostly a
comp pick for
comp
him
pick
almost.
thing,
Yeah,
probably.
that's kind of weird.
Although I don't know how much of a comp pick because he's probably going to get a 1-year prove it deal for wherever he
Anyone
goes.
gonna sign him even? Yeah, that's a big
Eh,
question.
So they're going to bring pressure from a variety of ways, and this is the other thing that Jalen Watson being back does. If Jalen Watson is back, and they use him a fair amount,
Mhm.
Trent can go back inside if he needs to, because you can
Oh
put
yeah,
Joshua
yeah.
Williams and
Put
Jalen
Josh Williams out there. Yeah,
outside, and then all of a sudden you've got the best blitzing cornerback we've seen in
quite some time.
years in the league, back at
Yeah.
a position where you never know if he's coming or not. That's a problem.
Yeah, I'll take one of those, please. Yeah, that's looking forward to the defense and how they perform versus the Texans. I think the bigger question mark, obviously, is going to be how the offense performs and holds up. We talked a lot about the offensive line at the top of this episode, so we don't have to go too much more into that. But just generally, we expect it to be a pretty pass heavy game. There's no question about that. You have a fully healthy
They're
Hollywood
going to run it
still.
45 times. I can
Are
smell
they?
it now. Because
Because
of
we're
what
so
everything we discussed and
you're
how
right.
they've
It's gonna be
laid
a
this
run
out,
heavy game. We
they're
might
going
see
to run the
Carson
ball
Fields over the rock.
45 times. I
Yeah,
can just
yeah. You're right. That is probably going to happen. But you still have Hollywood, Xavier Worthy, D Hop, a lot of different options in that passing game that you can use, and not even to mention Travis Kelsey, who just kind of floats along and picks up big yards and big game. I mean, he had a couple big games late here in the season, so
this is
I
what
don't
he's
know.
want. This is all the conversation about Travis and all the stuff and everything that's gone on this last year or 2 years really as far as
Yeah.
regular season conversation is concerned. This is what he's here for. He stopped caring about statistics
Mm-hmm.
last year when he didn't go for the 1,000 yards in a game where he could have played 3 snaps, got a catch, and got his 1,000 yards.
Yep.
They could have done it. He didn't care. They're not interested. He knows it doesn't. The only thing that increases his legacy at this point are rings on fingers and trophies in the sky. That's
Yeah.
it. That's all he's after. He
Depending
said
on
it a
some
ton.
either
And
type of ring on the finger. Yeah.
if that we aren't doing that.
That would improve the legacy, though. That would
I'm
improve the legacy.
not doing that. We are
I'm
not
saying
going down that rabbit hole.
big legacy improver.
There's not anybody else that 23 days of rest benefited more than a guy who played more snaps this season than he has in basically any season in his entire career
Yeah.
until now.
I mean, he said on the Pat McAfee show he's feeling 22.
Yes, he was very helpful in promoting all of his significant others'
Now I'm
exploits
on a
and
roll. I'm gonna see how many
medias
other
and
ones I can get in here real quick. I'm just kidding.
it can't.
Yeah.
He's 340 yards and like 3 touchdowns or something, 5 touchdowns from Jerry Rice's numbers in the postseason.
Yeah.
I know he doesn't care,
but
if
might be
it
more. Yeah,
fits
everyone around him might
into
be
the
more inclined to
scheme
get him
of the
involved.
game,
Yeah.
they're going to give him the ball.
They're gonna give him the ball.
And he's not going to just fall down now.
Yeah.
He's not going to just.
He's gonna be chugging ahead.
It doesn't, because now we're in the point of the year where there's not. Tomorrow's not promised.
Yeah, exactly.
There's
There's
not
no
another day
saving your body for
guaranteed.
later. Yeah. This is go time.
This is what he wants. This is what he's been waiting for. This is, by the way, he still had 97 catches and 823 yards this year.
Yeah.
While doing more blocking this season than we'd seen from him in the last 3 combined.
Yep.
But this is what he wants. This is what he's built for. This is the time of year that he's a totally different player. We talk about it with the team and kind of how they function and kind of how they've been the last year or two. And that's one thing. But it's a real noticeable physical and mental change for him in the playoffs. And Aziz is fine. He's a good player when he's not being questionable on some of his decisions.
Well, yeah, gotta watch out for that.
But are you covering Travis with a linebacker in the
No,
playoffs?
no.
I'm
You're
not. You
no.
could. You can. I don't. Ask Buffalo and the great white Matt Milano what's going to happen with that. But they have some questions. And separate of Travis, that secondary, Derek Stingley's great. I don't think he was better than Trent this year, but Derek
No.
Stingley's great. Kamari Lassiter is a rookie out of Georgia.
Right. Good rookie year so far, but still a rookie.
Great rookie year. Also made an incredible interception last week.
Yeah.
Crazy catch. Here's the problem for Kamari Lassiter. He runs a 4.6. And
that's about
the only
wide
receivers on the Chiefs that run that speed are 30-something-year-old DeAndre Hopkins and 30-something-year-old, well, now he's not 30, but he looks like and his body probably feels like he's 30, Juju Smith-Schuster.
Yeah, he's about there. Yeah, I think he's about there.
If they, for some reason, leave Kamari Lassiter in one-on-one coverage against, and they're going to have to put somebody on Xavier Worthy and Hollywood Brown when they're both on the field because Derek Stingley can't cover both of them.
Yep. Oh.
Whoever that is, if there's single coverage and there's not safety help, be expecting deep shots to whoever he is guarded by because, again, he's a great corner. He does a lot of things well. He's also a rookie in his first and in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not that fast. And I know speed in your underwear and speed on the field is different.
Yeah.
Xavier Worthy is fast with or without pads.
With or without. Yeah, you ain't catching
Justin
up with
Watson's
him no matter
faster
what.
than he is. Like,
yeah, for real.
Straight up legitimate speed. Like,
yeah, hopefully they dial up the deep shots.
I know J. Watt looks slow to a lot of these guys when he's standing out there next to some of the guys he's standing out there next to, but he's not
he's
slow.
Got a slow number, too.
There's
a
reason they throw the deep ball to him.
Because it's fast.
And he's a little bit bigger, so he's a little bit harder to deal with. Like, I would not be surprised if they try to pick on Kamari Lassiter in this game.
I would not be surprised as well. Yeah, I would not. That's an ideal matchup that you have to circle and kind of.
And if they do, and if they, especially early, if they hit a deep shot or two in the first half of this game, it's gonna be real problems for this Texans defense because if they're hitting you over the top and you have to play too deep on the safeties and you got to drop back, there's all of a sudden a whole lot of space in the middle of the field for Hollywood Brown or for Travis Kelce or for DeAndre Hopkins or for pick your poison.
Pick your poison. Yep.
This is the healthiest version of this Chiefs team all season. This is the most complete version of this Chiefs team all season, either side of the ball.
Yeah, definitely.
But this offense, up and running the way they want it to look, it could be a long day for the Texans.
Yeah. So with that about wraps up the what we expect to see from the game. Before we get into score predictions, let's give a couple little picks here from our friends at Underdog Fantasy. For those of you who aren't familiar, Underdog, one of the best new upcoming fantasy sports apps on the market. Great, just overall pick'em app. You can make picks, play fantasy, hires and lowers, all that good stuff. Just became a thing in Missouri now. For those of you living in the Missouri side, that just became a big thing that they launched in Missouri. So get in on the action. You can use our code KingdomSays when you sign up. You'll get a first deposit match bonus. You'll get a free pick. You'll get all these, just a bunch of cool stuff. I think they even have a pick on there right now for Patrick Mahomes over a half a yard. So if you need something automatic, free little pick right there, throwing that in, and you might make some good money. So check them out, Underdog Sports. Get them on the App Store or whatever. Use Kingdom Says for your promo code when you sign up. And yeah, Kyle, what are you thinking on the old Underdog Sports app here?
Help
You got some
yourselves
picks
out.
for us?
Help us out. Obviously, it works both ways. Everybody wins. And
Yeah.
then if you go on and you throw some of these picks together, you could win even more.
Mm-hmm.
I say could because remember, there's still chance involved. But there's some stuff. There's some lines on here that are real intriguing to me. I guess I'll start on the Texans side because there's just one that jumps off the screen at me. Dalton Schultz is on there for 6 targets. He
Mm-hmm.
had 8 targets last time that we played. This Chiefs team, we all know they struggle a little bit with tight ends.
Yeah.
If Stroud is getting pressured routinely, Nico takes a little longer to develop in some of his stuff. He's not necessarily a guy that wins real quick all the
Yeah.
time.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Dalton Schultz is going to be a focal point for their offense in this game.
Yeah.
And
Seems like a
6
pretty good lock
targets,
for a
six
higher. Yeah.
targets seems like a higher play there. Hollywood Brown, we just talked about what this offense looks like. It's a completely different offense with him at wide receiver. They look totally different. Yes, the tackles and the way they've done stuff with the offensive line has changed, but the other thing has changed is he wins in man coverage.
Yeah.
You have a real problem covering him one-on-one in man, and if he's open, Patrick is throwing him the ball. His receptions are at 3.5. I would hit the higher on that button.
That's
That
a good
just
one.
seems
Yeah.
like an option that's available. Travis Kelce for a touchdown. I like the touchdown. He's also on there for 52.5 yards or 5.5 receptions. I like any of the 3 of those lines, to be honest with you, or those
Picks. Yeah.
pick lines. I mean, they're
Yeah, I think it's a
lines.
line. Yeah.
I like any of the 3 of those for him on either of the 3 of those picks. The other one, Noah Gray, 10.5 receiving yards or 1.5 receptions. Like, it's a little boomer busty with him at times, but
Yeah, he went a
I,
little quiet during the end of the season,
I
but
feel like
also,
one
yeah,
catch gets him 11 yards probably.
typically, I mean, he seems to be an automatic first down dude
So
whenever you need
even
to
if
throw
you
the
don't
ball.
love the
So,
receptions and needing 2, I feel like the 10.5 yards is pretty reachable.
yeah.
Samaje Perine, a guy we
Mm.
didn't really talk about, but will play a
Yeah, another
huge
running back.
role
Yeah.
in this game. He's going to be a third down back. He's going to be your pass pro back. He's also going to be your check down pass catcher out of the backfield. I expect a little more Jerick McKinnon role for him with some different things that they do in the playoffs that we have not necessarily seen much of this year. His receiving yards are 9.5, also on there for 1.5 receptions.
That's a pretty good one. Yeah.
The other thing is this Chiefs team, when they played the Niners and they attacked the edge rushers, the really good edge rushers, they attacked them in this
Mm-hmm.
offense. The game plan was to attack at the edges, whether that's chip, whether that's double team, full up, double team, whether that's run at them, whether that's leave them completely unblocked because then they don't know what to do with their hands. They had Nick Bosa so discombobulated the last couple of times they played him. He was tackling guys that didn't have the football.
Yeah.
He's crashing down on the running back. Oh, the running back doesn't have the ball. There goes Patrick. What
Doesn't
just
have.
happened?
Yep.
Oh, I'm running this way. Why is the end around going that way with the ball? Oh, and Xavier Worthy's rushing yards are 4.5.
Mm. Yeah, they like giving Xavier Worthy the rock in the backfield. I mean, they'll give him at least 1 or 2 carries a game. It seems like, and that's
Now, the only concern there is if it's the little pop pass or if it's an actual handoff.
yeah. They haven't. I feel like they haven't been doing the pop pass as much. It seems like it has been the pure, the real jet sweep
We also
recently. But
haven't seen him being handed the ball much in the backfield after like week 5. They pretty much
yeah,
were like,
they
"Yep, we
did.
know that works. See you later."
Yeah,
Okay, bye.
yeah, they tried it a couple times early on and said, "All right, put that one in the bank. Save that one for when you need it."
DeAndre Hopkins, guys, this is his like long time former team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of memories here, a lot of history.
There's a lot of history against this team. He's on here for 2.5 catches or 30.5 receiving yards. I think he hits both of those numbers.
Not bad. Yeah, not a bad thing to sprinkle on because it's
Uh,
revenge game. Also, just familiarity and wanting to get one up on your old team. Really prove that you still got it. And yeah, he's another guy who's been slower the past few weeks and less time, less snaps, mostly because of that trade incentive.
I don't even
Obviously,
know if it's that. I think it was more of we don't necessarily
don't need
have
him.
to put
Yeah,
you out there right now.
save the legs for the playoffs, all that good stuff. I mean, yeah, it's very hard to kind of judge the late season performance, even though the Chiefs looked very good in their last few weeks. But also, there's just so much more that they've just been waiting to unlock when the
Yeah.
postseason comes around. So
I will also give you these. There's a couple of defensive lines. Nick Bolton for 4.5 solo tackles or 6.5 tackles and assists. That almost feels like a given
he is a
because
tackling
they're
machine.
gonna
Yeah.
because they're gonna run the ball or he's gonna be the guy closest to Dalton Schultz. and,
Oh no. Oh no.
and either way, he's probably
Yeah.
gonna be
He's
needing to make
gonna
the
get
tackle.
tackles. Yeah, you're right.
Um, and then the other one is Justin Reed. Uh, he's on there for 5.5 tackles and assists. He's also on there for just purely 1.5 assists. I also don't hate the INT line for him. It's a bit of a bit.
Yeah.
It's a one. It's one op. It's a 0.5. So he either gets one or he doesn't. It has
Right.
It has a pretty big multiplier on it for higher. Also higher is the only option. They don't have a lower on that one just for
That
that.
probably makes sense. Yeah.
So those are a couple of defensive lines that I don't hate. And then this one's for Garrett. You can pick your punter
Mm-hmm.
if you would like. The average yards per punt, which I hope Matariza doesn't punt the ball
Have to
at
punt
all
very much.
on
Yeah.
Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
But the average yards per punt for him is at 50.2, and old friend Tommy Townsend is at 47.1.
The goat. The goat.
Also, because Tommy is playing for this team, and because the Texans are going to be looking to steal possessions, don't be stunned if they try to run a fake.
Ooh, yeah, a little playoff toe action right there. That would be exciting. That would be exciting. So yeah, check some of those out. Right, like we said, download Underdog, use code Kingdom Says. You can get on some of those picks.
We will probably also have one
Yeah, we'll
that we
tweet one
put
out
together for you
tomorrow. Yeah,
guys
we'll put
if you
one
want to
out.
tail along. But
Yeah, exactly, a tail worthy one.
and they do
Okay.
have the 0.5 total yards for Mahomes on there as a promotion right now. So
Yeah. So you can definitely get that in there and get some get a little bit of a free multiplier. So before we wrap this up and get to our score predictions, we are going to announce the winner of the giveaway that we ran the past I don't know, the past week or so that we ran it as a little end of the season. Congratulations! So shout out to our winner, K Hartwick at KR_Hartwick. Shout out to him. Ran that Mahomes
yes.
cracked helmet print versus the Dolphins, the Grim Reaper one that our guy Corey Jones, the artist chief, made. So big shout out to Corey for hooking us up with those prints, and shout out to Kay Hartwick for winning that print. It'll get sent out to you shortly.
Also, Kyle Wampy, if you are seeing this, yours will be coming as well. As I mentioned earlier, the
Yeah.
weather kind of derailed all of my plans for getting any of that last giveaway out. So both giveaway winners will be getting their prints. We did not hit the 250 retweet mark that we wanted to get to give away the bonus Travis Kelce print. So be on the lookout because I'm sure that one will probably be
We'll
a
probably give that away
conversation
sometime
piece.
eventually. Yeah.
Maybe after he has a huge game in the divisional round against the Texans. Who knows?
Yeah, exactly. Should be just keep an eye out for that. But without further ado, to wrap up this night, because we've already gone a little bit long and I'm trying to go to bed. So
True.
Score predictions for the Chiefs' first playoff game of the year versus the Houston Texans at home in Arrowhead, 3:30 start time. Kyle, what are you thinking?
I don't think the Texans score more than 17 points. Unless the Chiefs contribute to them scoring 17 points, and I mean that off of like turnovers or anything silly. I just don't see a way with these matchups that they score 17. So I'm gonna give you, let's call it 30-16. I do think they get to 30. I actually I think a lot of the conversations about the offense and them not scoring and stuff this year are going to be erased this playoff run, this playoff season. They've heard, Travis made it abundantly clear that they've heard everything all year, all the time. They hear it. They know. They'll deal with, to quote Patrick about the Raiders, it'll get handled when it gets handled. I think it's time to handle things. There's been a lot of bulletin board material given to Mahomes. He was listed as the 4th best quarterback in the divisional round by the 33rd team, which that's a decision.
Yeah, they make some crazy decisions over there. Some really weird ones, really interesting ones. Yeah.
So I think this team scores plenty of points. I think it may actually get to the point where they even, for whatever reason, Andy takes his foot off the gas pedal at points because he does that at points in time.
Yeah.
I just think this defense comes out and makes a statement early. I think the Texans probably kick a couple of field goals early in the game because they just want to get points. And then they're basically going to try to score. They may score a touchdown and then be doing the whole I'm going for it thing.
Yeah.
And I wish them the best on that front. It's just not a great matchup. This Texans team was limping, and I'm being generous with limping, into the playoffs. They lost 3 consecutive games at the end of the year that were just not good. They obviously they lost to us. They got beat 31-2 by the Ravens.
Jeez.
It was just not great. And then of course they beat the Titans and they squeaked one over the Dolphins. Like, there was not a lot of promise in that. The only game they lost to us and they lost to Baltimore back to back, and neither one of them looked particularly close. Those are playoff teams. You look through the teams that they did beat, if I'm not mistaken, when I went back and looked through this, I don't think they beat a single playoff team. I take that back. They beat the Bills.
Not something.
That was in October.
Yeah.
So like the 6th of October.
Yeah.
So and they didn't even look. That Texans game or that Ravens game was just bad. And honestly, the first half of the Chargers game, had the Chargers not been the team they were playing last weekend, I don't know that the Texans.
Yeah, the Chargers don't charger that. Yeah, that is the thing
which I did tell you guys they were going to do that. I said that. I called that last week.
Yep. Death taxes and the Chargers being the Chargers. Yeah.
And it doesn't matter who's on the team or who's coaching the team or no. It just is what it is.
Yeah.
So give me Kansas City 30-16, and I don't even know if it feels that close.
Yeah, I'm in that same vein. I obviously think this is a pretty good mismatch in the Chiefs' favor. The Texans are just, like you said, they ran out of steam at the end of the season. It seems like definitely kind of not as sharp as they were earlier on. And it's almost not even about the Texans as much as it is just the utmost confidence in the Chiefs to be the Chiefs. It's like this. We always do this thing every year. We wonder if the Chiefs are going to be the Chiefs in the playoffs, and every year they are. They still do their thing. They figure it out. They eliminate the mistakes and get good movement on offense and prevent good movement on defense. It's just different when you're watching the Chiefs play football in the playoffs. I kind of agree with what you said about they probably almost go to a point where they don't have to keep scoring, and it just seems like they kind of have the game in that steady balance where it's just they have like a 7-point lead for a couple quarters and they're content with that. I'm gonna go with like a 24-13 final score in favor of the Chiefs. Like, I don't think they're gonna put up a crazy amount of points, mostly because they just don't probably have to. Like, we saw it last year in the AFC Championship, for better or worse. Like 17-7 was or 7. I guess maybe it was 17-10 at the end of that, but still, it's like it was a 1-score game for a very long time, and they were, you'd like to see them put their foot on the gas. You would, but when you have a defense that's playing pretty hot and containing the ball well, and you're doing enough on offense, you're not you at least got to get some drives going together, drain some clock. Don't just send the defense out there consistently back to back on 3-and-outs. But I think the offense is in a good spot. The defense is in a good spot. They'll do just enough to win the game. They might show some unique things and whatnot, but I think early on we'll be able to tell if like you said, if the game is going to be a lot farther away than what the score is probably going to indicate. And if the Chiefs have as good of a grasp on the game as I think they'll have, then I think it'll be a good game. I think it'll be a solid game regardless, but just might not be as high scoring as I was going to say as the Chiefs are used to, but they're really not. This is the Chiefs don't
Not
score
this
a
year.
lot of points. Yeah, so it's just kind of on par with Chiefs football. But yeah, I'll go 24-13 and we'll see you guys in the AFC Championship type
I
deal.
do think that part of the reason I have them getting to 30 is I have the defense forcing some turnovers and short fields
Yeah,
just lead
yeah,
to more points, whether it's more field goals or
yeah.
whether it's a defensive score or whether it's some quick touchdowns. I just think there's going to be some turnovers forced. So to finish this out, we're going to briefly look at the rest of the divisions in the divisional rounds. The night game on Saturday is Commanders-Lions.
Yeah, Commanders, Lions. Lions, obviously a really hot team, hottest record in football. Looking really good despite all the injuries that they've had to battle. Commanders,
Especially on defense.
Yeah, especially on the defense. Commanders, I've really enjoyed watching this Commanders team.
Kid's
So
fun,
far
man.
this season.
He's the
Yeah,
rookie of the
Jaden
year. I don't
Daniels.
even think it's close.
Yeah, oh yeah, not even close. Jaden Daniels has been really good for that franchise and turning them around with bringing in Dan Quinn and Cliff Kingsbury and all that stuff that they've done. Definitely transformed the Washington Commanders from what they used to be, and I think they'll be a good playoff team for the next few years, especially with this regime and the stable they have around Jaden Daniels, and I'm sure they'll only improve upon it in years to come. But with that being said, it is the Lions' year, I think, to at least make a further run at it. I think they'll at least advance past the divisional round. Commanders coming to Detroit, having to go with that crowd, which is electric crowd in that building.
Oh, it's going to be unhinged.
It's going to be a
in Detroit.
crazy environment for them. The Lions have just a special energy about them this year. I don't know if that energy will take them to a Super Bowl, or I definitely don't think it'll take them to a Super Bowl trophy, but we'll see if it even takes them to a Super Bowl berth or not. But right now, I think they're the hotter team compared to Washington. Yeah.
I don't think the Commanders can stop the Lions' running game.
Yeah.
They struggle with run defense. It's not their forte. They're going to have to come up with a major plan. And if the Lions can run the ball and they're getting David Montgomery back, which is
that's big.
crazy.
Yeah, that's really big.
It's the same kind of like, all right? Because at one point, there was the first opinion was like he's done for the year, then he wasn't, then he was, then he wasn't.
He got injured pretty late in the season too.
Yeah, he did, and it was a knee too, and it was like non-contact, so there was a lot of questions. But even if he's not 100%, even him just being able to spell Jameer every little bit to give Jameer some time, I think they're going to run the ball real well. And if you give Jared Goff play action passing attack with that set of weapons with Amon-Ra and Jameson and Sam Laporta, Bobby Wagner's great. I don't think they got enough answers. And Jaden Daniels is great, but I don't think they got enough answers. They're gonna have, if Washington wants to have a chance in that game, they're gonna have to score 30. And I agree. And I know Detroit's defense has been banged up. I don't think they can do it. I think that game is 34-21 Detroit, and I think it's a statement. And heck of a year for the Commanders. Yeah. Good first step for Jaden Daniels. A little bit of the C.J. Stroud from last year type deal.
Yeah, a little magical rookie year campaign. Yeah.
So, the Detroit is just going to be too much in that game, I think. And Dan, I don't think anybody's going to punt in that game. The Commanders went for it on fourth down like four times last week. Detroit doesn't even know what their punter's name is or what he looks like. Yeah. If it's less than 4th and 10, they're going for it. So yeah. I will say the total in that game is 55.5. I think it's close. I don't know if they get over it, but I think it's close.
Yeah, I could see it being close. Yeah, I can see that being pretty close as well. Yeah. Should be a
The
fun game. Should be a fun game to cap off Saturday night.
yeah,
And then
and
moving
then
on to
Sunday,
Sunday
and
slate.
Sunday is the slugfest day.
Yeah, Sundays there's some big ones. You have Rams and Eagles kicking off the day. In Philadelphia, Rams coming to town.
How do you feel?
I know you've been a big fan of the Rams and this team so far.
Fan, no, but in the
Believer, I guess, might be a
yes, I
yeah,
think they're better than
believer.
a lot
Yeah.
of people think they are. They play. I know that their division wasn't great this year, but a lot of that is because they beat the crap out of each other. That's a scary, scary team. That's a quarterback with Super Bowl experience. That's a head coach that's probably the best head coach in the NFC.
Probably, yeah.
Also with Super Bowl experience. And it's a young, fast defense. I know Saquon ran ballistic on them earlier this year. I get all of that. He ran for 255 yards against them earlier this year. I get that. I don't know that if you load the box up, that Jalen Hurts is going to beat you with his arm. I don't.
Yeah, especially with all the injuries he's dealt with and just
he had a concussion.
Drop back. Yeah.
He's had some other stuff, and he's not the most electric drop back passer, even with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Now,
exactly.
The Rams have some questions in coverage on whether or not they're going to be able to cover those dudes, and if they're just running wide open, Jalen can hit those throws. But if the Rams and Sean McVay is going to have a plan, and I don't think Nick Sirianni is going to outcoach Sean McVay.
Yeah, I mean that is true. Yeah. I would much prefer, I think, to see the Rams win.
Philly's gonna be nuts. The Link is a crazy environment. It's gonna be wild. It's gonna be loud.
Yeah,
we saw how crazy it was.
Yeah.
If you saw that viral incident from last week against the Packers,
Philly for you. Yeah, that is Philly for you.
Sure is. The spread in this game is Eagles 6.5, and that just feels like way too many points.
That is a lot of points. Yeah. Yeah, I can see this being a very close game. I mean,
I definitely think the Rams cover. I'm taking them to win that game. I think the Rams beat them.
I think I would be in that same boat as you. I mean, the Eagles, they are very dynamic, especially with all the weapons they
have. A great offensive line.
I think really I think it does fall on the quarterback, honestly, when you really look at it. Like, you're comparing Jalen Hurts and Matthew Stafford. And it's crazy.
That's what I would do.
Like, at this current state of time, like, Jalen, I don't think is fully 100% healthy or just capable. You know, he's had a step back as far as production this year. Matthew Stafford just seems to never age. Like, he seems to just keep on, like, his arm is still there. He's obviously still making all the reads he needs to make. Like, that's the difference between, like, surgical football and then, like, you know, the electric,
he's not missing
big
weapons
play,
either.
Explosive thing that the Eagles can kind of do. So it's just a balance. I think that's going to be, I mean, that game is damn near a coin flip in my eyes, but I think I would probably lean towards the Rams taking that one.
Coaching advantage, Rams. Quarterback advantage, Rams. Okay.
Yeah, those two big ones. Yeah, those two big ones.
I know they don't have Saquon Barkley, but Kyren Williams is a dog. He gets slept on. He gets forgotten about. He's a 3-down back. You can throw him the ball. You can run with him, and they have Kupp. They have Nakua. There's plenty of weapons, so they can score with Philly. Now, Philly's defense is great. Philly's offensive line is really good. Saquon's great. The weapons are good, but coach and quarterback matter a ton in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And if there's a meltdown, which there very easily could be on that Philly team, they've been showing signs of it all year. I know everybody wants to pretend like A.J. Brown reading a book on the sideline isn't a big deal, but it's not a great look. Maybe he was doing it all year. Maybe he was. Great. Still not an ideal situation. Yeah,
should be a really good game. And then to cap off the weekend,
you said
Ravens at Bills. That's gonna be this is an electric game. Yeah, these are two AFC juggernauts coming in for the chance to
hated on for
Patrick
the whole
Mahomes.
Offseason.
Yeah, both earning the opportunity to potentially lose to Patrick Mahomes in the AFC Championship. So it's a great honor that they're battling for right now. As I say, in Buffalo. Ravens have been a really good team. You know, I mean, probably the MVP candidate in Lamar Jackson, and you have the runner-up MVP candidate, which is going to be Josh Allen on the other side. So Yeah, it's going to come down to, I mean, Zay Flowers is questionable, I believe, for him. We'll see. Doubtful. He got downgraded to doubtful. That's not good. Yeah, that's not good. So that's a big piece of the Ravens offense that might be missing. The Bills have had injury things that they've dealt with on and off. Ultimately, they always seem to find a way to win it. But also the Ravens doing the same time. I mean, this is going to be, talk about coin flips. This is another real big coin flip game. This is going to be a really good game, I think.
This is a styles make fights matchup for me. I know Baltimore smoked them earlier this year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Josh Allen's going to have to be Superman for the Bills to win this game. It's going to be cold. They're going to be in Buffalo. It's going to be nasty. All of those things are true. Zay Flowers is probably not playing. Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson, and 2 tight ends. The Bills do not know how to play big defensively. They are a small defense. They're small up the middle. They like to sit in nickel. They don't like to change out of it. It's one of the reasons they've given the Chiefs problems at points in time is because they don't play run defense, really. They mostly are a pass defense team. They will stop the run on the way to the quarterback type of deal, which, I mean, that's awesome. Yeah, that's fine until Derrick Henry is the one stepping on your head on the way over the top of you with the ball.
Yeah.
If the Ravens do what they should do, they should win this game. They have 2 question marks. One, are they going to play the correct game on offense and not try to turn Lamar into a Superman, although he's been much better this year from the pocket than he's been ever before. He's been throwing the ball well. Playoffs are a different animal. We see it every year with this Baltimore team.
Yeah.
It's a different beast in the playoffs. But if they run the ball and that defense doesn't melt down and let Josh Allen go ballistic on them, the Ravens win this game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout like the first matchup because Josh plays well every year.
I mean, he's going to do it in Buffalo too. Like, it's not going to be. It's going to be a close game, I think.
But I think Baltimore is the team this year. They've got so much more around Lamar than Josh has. It's part of the reason I think Josh should probably still be the MVP over Lamar. And it's not because of the numbers. It's because of what they're doing. Like, Lamar also has a 2,000-yard running back in the backfield with him. Like, it's not just Lamar. And when this season started, nobody thought the Bills were going to win 12 or 13 games. They won 13 games. They traded Stephon Diggs this offseason. They got rid of him. Their wide receiver core is Khalil Shakir and some other dudes.
Amari Cooper. Yeah.
Amari Cooper has also missed time this year.
Yeah.
And also hasn't been the same Amari Cooper that we saw in Dallas or even the guy that we saw in Cleveland at points.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's not been the same deal. James Cook has had a really good year.
He has
like 700 yards less than Derrick Henry.
Yeah,
and
you
don't have the tight ends.
Yeah, you make valid points. You do.
And I don't care which one of them wins the MVP. I really don't give a crap either way. But I think if I was looking at if it's valuable and not whose numbers are the prettiest, I think Josh Allen's the MVP. I don't.
If we're really looking at value,
it's always Patrick Mahomes. That's not even that's dead.
About Patrick Mahomes.
But if they're gonna do, they disqualified him after his first 6 weeks of the season because he threw like 7 picks.
Yeah, compared to those last couple of weeks, all of a sudden it's a little bit different story. Ultimately, this game I think really going to be close. Like I said, I think it's a coin flip really in my head. I think I'm actually going to lean towards the Bills, despite everything you just said. For the one and only reason that the Ravens just are not a playoff team. Maybe this is the year that they do figure it out. I don't know. I mean, the Bills at least have kind of a history of winning playoff games. So they have something going for them. Stylistically, it's a different matchup for them. I have a sneaking suspicion that the Ravens might just kind of crumble at the seams for whatever reason. And like I said, very much a coin flip in my head. I really don't care which team wins because, like I said, you are competing for a chance to lose to Patrick Mahomes in the AFC Championship. So either way, doesn't matter to me.
Quarterbacks are going to be even. The reason I'm leaning Baltimore is the head coach. Harbaugh is a better coach than McDermott. I don't really think that's that much of a crazy statement to make.
Yeah.
Harbaugh has rings.
He does ring.
I guess ring.
Yeah.
And that was with Joe Flacco. So, like he's been there, he's done it before. He doesn't do some of the super strange things Sean McDermott does, and they've got more talent. And like I said, when the quarterback play is even, because legitimately I think both QBs play well in this game. I really do.
There's a chance. I do agree with your assessment that Josh Allen is going to have a Superman-like game to really keep.
He's going to have to put the cape on for the Bills to win the game.
But I can kind of see that happening.
And he could.
It's in Buffalo with the home crowd with you,
sure.
Sunday night.
Makes a difference.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. That's going to be a fun game regardless of whoever wins and whoever we see the next week. So
if you like Buffalo, they're plus 105.
Not bad. That's not bad. Might have to sprinkle
money line.
Yeah. Okay, that wraps up the weekend for us. That's wraps up everything, I think. That wraps up everything. We've had a good hour and 46 minute episode here. We appreciate everyone for tuning in and joining us tonight. Be sure to check us out on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Kingdom Says Pod. Be on the lookout for more giveaways. Also be on the lookout tomorrow morning we'll put out those underdog picks one more time. Just shout out to Underdog. Sign up for them. Use promo code Kingdom Says to get a big deposit match bonus, free pick.
They also have daily contests like fantasy style.
Just a good way to stay more connected to the game on a day-to-day basis. You can just do little things, big things, doesn't matter. Play fantasy, make picks, doesn't matter. It's a good time. They have a lot of different options on that site. So yeah, check it out. And that's all we've got for you. Appreciate you joining along. Be sure to check us out on YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, Apple Music. Sorry, that was the one that
Twitter,
like randomly
Amazon, anywhere you
wherever.
Get your podcasts. Yeah. Hop over to the YouTube and subscribe so you know when we go live.
Yeah, exactly. You can always interact with us on YouTube
like
and all that
bell,
good stuff.
Get the notifications turned on.
Yeah, all that good stuff. And be sure to show up and be loud at Arrowhead if you're going tomorrow.
Be safe, Chiefs Kingdom.
Yep, definitely be safe, bundle up, be responsible, and everyone just have a good time. I know we're going to have a good time, and we'll keep this thing rocking. So thank you all for tuning in, watching, listening. We will see you guys in the next episode of The Kingdom Says.